Welcome back to another Vega 23 episode. On the last video that I shot, I said I was going to teach you guys how to use the automatic. So on today's episode, we're going to start from the beginning. It's going to be very short and very simple. We're going to show you guys how to get the machine started, basically getting the air in, turning it on, and prepping to start working on it. So video one is going to be just showing you the ropes, everything you need to get started, and that's going to be it. Very simple, very plain, but very good information so you guys can have an understanding when you arrive to the shop what's the first thing you need to do in order to get your machine ready to start printing. One thing that is very, very important for you guys to have is the chiller. It's an air dryer. So you want to turn that on, kind of get that going. What it does is it gets really cold and you have an air hose that comes from the compressor. So as you guys can see here, we have this air hose right here coming out from the compressor into the chiller. The chiller is going to do its thing and separate the moisture from the air and release it from this hose that's down here. So the whole purpose of the chiller is to make sure that no water goes into the lines of the automatic press. If you don't have that, your press is probably not going to last more than a couple of months because the moisture that's inside of the air that comes in through the compressor, it's going to rust out all your components on your machine, and no matter how new it is, it's going to ruin everything. So the first thing that I do is I like to come in and turn that on. Then I come outside and I make sure that I have my compressor going. So as you guys can see, this lever right here, if it's pointing this way against the line, that means it's closed. If the valve it's going in the direction of the line, that means it's open. So we have that open, and we have our pressure set on our compressor at about 170, and it drops to maybe 110 before it kicks back on, because we want to maintain the pressure at 110 in our machines at all times. So this is another important thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about. So once you have the compressor going in the chiller, you're going to come over to your press. And Robert, put a Carhartt. All right, so as you guys can see, that yellow line, it's going to be the air that comes in from the compressor. And I highly recommend you guys to get this filter. This filter also separates the moisture from the air. All right, so the PSI on this regulator is set to 110, and that is where all your components for the pressure on the squeegee and the flood bar and the pressure to press down on your screens is going to be at no more than 110, because, well, let me open this up real quick. So that's going to be the operating PSI. I know the reflection sucks, but we have it set at 110. And then from here, this one has a little bit of oil in it, and then this one is the one that separates the moisture out of the air. So it's kind of like a last line of defense, and I highly recommend it because, you know, the chiller, it's gonna do its job, but some of it is gonna escape, and you need that one to make sure that you have no water coming into your lines, because they will rust out. All of these little components that are here, these are disconnects. As you guys can hear that, that's what puts the pressure into the cylinders, and same thing for all the components on your choppers for the pressure on the squeegee and the flood bar. All right, so once you have the pressure brought into your machine and you know it's set to the right PSI, we're just gonna hit the power button. You're gonna wait for the computer to wake up. You're gonna get an alarm, which is pretty normal. And what you wanna do is you always wanna have a good distance away from the boards, because if they move and you get clipped by one of them, it's probably going to send you to the hospital. So in order to lock in your boards, you see this little bearing right here? It's going to lock in right here. So if that is centered, as you see right there, that's going to lock them in. You want to make sure that all your yellow cords are connected, If they're not, if they're not connected, you're gonna get an alarm that says yellow cord. So all you have to do is connect these two, go around your machine, make sure they're all good. You hit the reset button, which is your green button on the machine, and now you're good to go. So from here, you're basically ready to start setting up. Um, on the second episode, we're going to show you guys how to set up the screens and how to set the distance from the squeegees so that you can get a nice print. And we're also going to get into talking about the pressure that you apply in order for the ink to clear the screen, whether it's with single stroke, double stroke, warming up the boards, and all that good stuff. But this is basically all you need to know in order to get your press going. We turn it on, get the chiller going. Very important. Set your PSI at the correct PSI, which is 110. It's pretty normal for these machines. And that's it. All right. If you guys have any questions about running the automatic, let me know. This is going to be a good starting point for anybody that wants to learn how to run them. I don't know if there are tutorials out there for how to use and run the automatic press. If you have run the manual before and you know how this works, then it's going to be a very easy transition for you to come over to the automatic.